The church bell echoed in the distance as rain poured down like heaven was weeping. David knelt beside a tiny grave, hands trembling, lips whispering a name he hadn't spoken in years. Lily. A single photo in his worn wallet showed a sweet, dimpled girl with her mother's eyes. She was gone, or so he believed. David Carter wasn't always broken. Once, he had a wife, a daughter, and dreams wrapped in bedtime stories and giggles. But 3 years ago, a car accident shattered his world. His wife, Hannah, died instantly, and their daughter, Lily, was never found. The police believed her body had been carried downstream in the river. After weeks of searching, the case was closed, and David was left with nothing but silence and a grave with no remains. Since then, he worked odd jobs: janitor, handyman, warehouse loader, anything to scrape together enough for rent and bills. He lived in a rusting trailer on the outskirts of town, surviving on hope and old memories. Grief had aged him, but he never stopped believing that somehow, one day, he might see his daughter again. In a nearby town, Grace Thompson, a quiet, kind-hearted widow, struggled with her own grief. Her husband, Luke, had passed from cancer the year before, leaving her with a mountain of debt and a small foster care center she could barely keep running. Grace had been a foster mother for years, taking in abandoned and lost children when no one else would. One cold winter morning, fate brought them together. David had come to the town's community center for work. He was fixing a broken door when a child's laughter pierced his ears. It was a sound he hadn't heard in so long that it hurt. He looked up and saw a little girl running through the hallway, her curly brown hair bouncing behind her. His heart nearly stopped. She looked exactly like Lily. Same eyes. Same dimple when she smiled. It was as if time had rewound itself. Grace noticed the man's frozen stare and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Her name is Lily," she said softly. "She came to us about 3 years ago. Found by a riverside in another state. We never found her real family." David's knees buckled. Tears welled up in his eyes. "That's my daughter," he whispered. "It took weeks of court battles, DNA tests, and endless paperwork." Grace stood by David through every moment, supporting him like no one else ever had. She cooked for him, encouraged him, helped him find the strength he'd lost. In that time, something unexpected bloomed between them: understanding, companionship, love. But there was a problem. Grace's foster license was being revoked due to lack of funding. The center would shut down, and Lily would be sent to another state if David couldn't provide a stable home. As a single man with little income, the court deemed him unfit for full custody. "I can't lose her again," David cried one night, holding Grace's hand as if it were the last thing tethering him to hope. And then Grace made a decision that would change